Bureau of Investigations. This is a game set in the story world of H.P. Lovecraft. It is a cooperative game, also solitaire friendly. I played it solo, for example, but you can work together with friends to solve 5 cases that you will find in this box. Now, the game is labeled as part of the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective line. However, I hesitate to validate that because of these 5 cases that you find in here. Really, only 2 belong to that game system. The other 3 have overlapping similarities, but they really are, in terms of gameplay, very, very different. So right there you have a strange mix there. There are mainly 3 main mechanics here, as you will see as I tell about the game. Maybe I'll show you some of the components, but not much, just to show that the components look really good. The production values are very nice, especially when you look at this double-sided map of Boston and Arkham that will give you some indication in some of the cases, but not a lot. So case 1 and case 2 are more properly based on the game mechanics of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. If you're not familiar with that system, I'm going to give you a very quick overview, which is you're going to have a case that you need to solve, and it's going to be described in this booklet. You're going to have the map, so you check if the spatial organization of the components of the case matter. If it matters that some things are far or close to each other. You're going to have a fictional newspaper, single-sided, that represents events of that time. And then again, the booklet introduces the case, and then also, I will not give you any spoilers in this video, is also organized in paragraphs that are labeled by number and letters. I don't know if you can see the numbers there, the letters there, like WC, NW, NE, which means, West Central, Northwest, Northeast, and so on and so forth, referring to different things. So, for example, if you want to go to a location which is in a certain area, which is in the Northeast, you'll check if in the NE section such location is there. So there is a dedicated paragraph that describes what you find there if you get there. And that is also where the directory comes in. I'm going to give you a fictional example. Suppose that I want to go and see, the text tells me that there is a person of interest called Alicia Green, and I want to meet with Alicia Green. Then I look up in the directory where Alicia lives, and it says 1SW. Then again, I check the booklet, and if there is a section that is labeled 1SW, then it'll be, when you meet with Alicia, such and such happens. Now, this is standard of all Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detectives. Here, however, as you can see from the side of the page, each location, if it's there at all, is divided into 2 things, into 2 modalities. One is called the interview, and one is the investigation. Basically, once you have identified the location where you want to go, say my example, Alicia's house, you can choose if you're going there to meet Alicia, and then you go to the interviews version of that code. Or if you want to try to maybe sneak into the place, keep an eye on it, so it's more like exploring the area, in which case you go to the investigation section of the area. So if you have never played it, it is basically a fairly demanding game system, because it is a kind of game where you have to play well to be able to play at all. The games, I can play chess poorly, and as long as I'm making moves, the game progresses. But it can get to a point in which you just don't know where to go next, and the game doesn't explicitly tell you, so you have to remember, wow, that character has bought a certain thing, so let's see in the directory what kind of store sells that kind of thing. We see where there is, there is an encounter where we can go to that store and ask the proprietor if a certain item was bought, and so on and so forth. So there's great satisfaction. You get the haha moment where you do find a certain thread, a narrative thread, and you find how the story progresses. But at the same time, it can be pretty challenging. However, the game in one format or another has been around since the 1980s with expansions and reprints, so it definitely has a dedicated fan base, which includes me. So when I saw that there was gonna be 5 cases in the Sherlock Holmes consulting system, set in the world of H.P. Lovecraft, I was very excited. Now, getting more in detail about what happens here, the first case felt pretty bland and pretty, I don't know, obvious. When they present the case, there are many ways in which what happens can be done. And so I thought, that's okay. It's short, it's simple, it's the intro. It's it's the tutorial for new players, but then they learn these mechanics, they can apply them to 4 other cases. But that was not gonna be the case because the same system really only applies in booklet 2, case 2, which again comes with its own fake newspaper. It is about the expedition. You see that there are people that are coming back from a cold place, so you may get a sense, you may get an idea. And I like this one very much. Again, I like it's the one that most embodies the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective spirit that you find in this set, and I liked it very much. It also has a method of keeping track of the passage of time. So if there's a certain event that happens, then the text tells you from now on, when you go to a location or when you go to see a certain person, add a certain number, and the resulting paragraph will acknowledge that what happens is after that event occurred. Very nice, very neat. It has that creates a certain countdown clock, sense of like impending doom, sense of progression. You get a sense that you need to complete certain things before bad stuff happens. Incidentally, about the countdown thing, different from classic Sherlock Holmes consulting detective stories, here you have a limited amount of time in which you can solve the case, in which you're supposed to. If you just want to enjoy the story, take as much time as you want. It's cooperative or solo. Nobody gets hurt. Honest, I enjoy taking my sweet time exploring the story and getting to know the characters. So I really enjoyed this one. And then as I was getting excited to start the 3rd case, I realized that the remaining 3 cases are basically different games. They use similar components, paper goods, basically, paper maps, booklets, but it's different gameplay. Case 3 and Case 5, they're basically game books. They're much closer to choose your own adventure books, fighting fantasy books, some of those heavily map-based game books in the solo, in the Melee Wizard system, and then Dark City Games recently. There's a map. In both 3 and 5, there's a map. And you look at the map and you move from location to location and you go from paragraph to paragraph. If you want to go to that room, go to 05. If you're going to go to that room, go to 06. From 06, you're told what you find there. You want to go there, go to 79, and so on and so forth. They are game books, which I happen to like. So that was not a problem for me. I enjoy the idea of the game books. But I see how, well, had I bought this just for the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective system, and ultimately I was like okay with the first lackluster scenario because it introduced 4 ones. Well, this was like a weird twist, a weird combination of different game mechanics. So, Case 3, the House of the Sorcerer, and Case 5, the Gunboat, are again basically game books. Just to give you a sense, the Gunboat also comes with a map, and you will cross-reference the information on the top and on the side. So if I want to explore what I see in C6 or in K16, I go to the corresponding paragraph here and I read it and it tells me what happens. They're both fun game books with different flavor. The Gunboat, I may say Game Boat earlier. The Gunboat is it's more about exploring a space, and there are some confusing things in it, but they're meant. Cannot tell you too much. Case 3, the House of the Sorcerer, feels a lot more like an analog-based point-and-click adventure. There's much more that idea like you need to find an item and maybe do something with it, figure out what to do and where to use it. It reminded me also the game Unlock. It also reminded me of a classic video game, but I cannot tell you which one it is because that'd be a spoiler. So, moving on. But if you played both, maybe you'll see the connection. So 3 and 5, I enjoyed them. I was just surprised to find them here and disappointed because I want a Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective system. But once I give up that, they're perfectly legitimate game box. And then it comes with case number 4, which is the most different from them all. As you can see, it comes with a large envelope, not with a booklet at all. And it reminded me of another kind of mystery-based game that I played recently, the Cold Case games, and I reviewed several of them, which come with a box of fake materials that ideally are in a police dossier. And so there are, profiles of suspects, biographies, transcripts of interviews, tickets, maps, photographs. And there is no specific order in which you can go through those. And so without showing you what it is, but I'm going to show you how much it is, there is a stack of documents here. Many double-sided with many of them a lot of text that looks like typewritten in the 1920s, plus a couple of other things, and that's the idea. You look through them until you think you figure out the thing you're supposed to figure out, and then you look at this envelope and you see if you got it right. This probably will work better with in a cooperative setting rather than a solitaire setting. As you spread out these things on the table, people move around and go, "Hey, I have this. Do you find something like that?" Etc. 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 So I'll candidly tell you, I didn't play this. I'm describing it to you. Let's see if it's something that you may like. I didn't do it because playing it solo, it just felt like too much like homework. It felt like too much like work. I'm a teacher, and so it reminded me too much of a stack of papers to grade and to figure out, oh, there's an inconsistency here. Oh, I need to mark down where is the mistake here and there, because ultimately those are some of the things that you will need to figure out to solve the case. I looked at the solution. So, not for me and not for me playing it solo. Maybe for your group, but again, very, very different from the other mechanics. I mean, if that's what you want, a game made in this format with this general mechanic of looking at the fake historical artifacts and figuring out the implications, then you got the cold case games, and that's all you got. Then you got a game that is precisely based on that, and doesn't come with 4 other basic games that you may or may not like. So this set is a really odd duck, is an odd hybrid, and maybe that was the idea that H.P. Lovecraft told us so many stories about hybridizations. However, they always horrified him. He was always terrified of mixing different things. So strange, in a sense, he captures that element again of Lovecraft, but he glorifies the idea of like, hey, these are very, very different games, mechanically very different games that have been put together in a single set. So I think that's maybe some of the reactions have been mixed, because it may be hard to find a group that enjoys these 3 mechanics. The Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, the cold case file kind of thing, and the map-based game book. That a group that likes them all and just feels like playing them pretty much in that order, or at least in that situation. So I don't know what they were thinking really. It feels like maybe they were going for variety for the sake of it. But again, you have a set with such different things in it that it's less likely that you'll find somebody that enjoys them all, and it's more likely that you will find somebody that will be disappointed. Another thing that I think probably not a crowd pleaser, the solutions are presented in a different way in some of the cases, not all. What you need to do at the end when you think you've figured it out or you run out of time, you have to because you are part of this Bureau of Investigation, you're sending in your people to arrest people, to raid certain locations, so, or to arrest people there. So basically you're gonna select 3 locations from the ones that you hopefully got to know during the adventure, and then you go and look at the solution section, and if those areas are there, it means they're relevant to the solution, otherwise they're not. And if they are, then it tells you what your men raiding that area find, and you receive a certain amount of points, and then you have the solution. And the solution often is not as tight as you would expect from a Sherlock Holmes consulting detective or from most mysteries, because we're in the world of H.P. Lovecraft. It looks like a puzzle, but there is not always a legitimate solution. In some cases, the story gives you a sense of what might happen, and the solution twists things around. You gotta be in the spirit of exploring the madness, chaos, enigmatic nature of the world of H.P. Lovecraft. However, through a game system that is known for its mystery element, for its mystery qualities. So again, maybe a little bit of a clash there. So Bureau of Investigation, personally, I enjoyed most of the stories. Again, in particular, Case 2, the only true Sherlock Holmes consultative detective story here that doesn't feel like a tutorial. I like the 2 game book oriented ones. I find the other one very different and just very, very demanding, at least for the solo player. So mixed feelings from me about the set that I personally overall enjoyed, but it's a mixed bag, and so I think I won't be the only one who has mixed feelings about it.